I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich, okay? We need to get out there, use your weapons, and rip Washington apart.
When you talk about the Syrian people and what the Syrian people want, how can you quantify that? Do you have any independent surveys where you can actually document that? And secondly, you talk about the corporate media, the Western media, the lies, and all of this. Could you explain what you think might be the agenda from us in the Western media, and why we should lie, why the international organizations on the ground should lie, why we shouldn't believe all these absolutely documentable facts that we see from the ground, these hospitals being bombed, these civilians who are talking about the atrocities that they have been experiencing. How can you justify calling all of us liars?
Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, there are certainly honest journalists amongst the very compromised establishment media. Let's start with your second question. So, international organizations on the ground. Tell me which ones are on the ground in eastern Aleppo. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you, there are none. There are none. These organizations are relying on the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which is based in Coventry, UK, and which is one man. They're relying on compromised groups like the White Helmets, which, let's talk about the White Helmets. The White Helmets were founded in 2013 by a British ex-military officer. They have been funded to the tune of $100 million by the US, UK, and Europe, and other states. They purport to be rescuing civilians in eastern Aleppo and Idlib, yet no one in eastern Aleppo has heard of them. And I say no one, bearing in mind that now 95% of these areas of eastern Aleppo are liberated. The White Helmets purport to be neutral, yet they can be found carrying guns and standing on the dead bodies of Syrian soldiers. And their video footage actually contains children that have been recycled in different reports. So you can find a girl named Aya who turns up in a report in month, say, August, and she turns up in the next month in 2 different locations. So they are not credible. The SOHR is not credible. Unnamed activists are not credible. Once or twice, maybe, but every time, not credible. So your sources on the ground, you don't have them. As for your agenda, not your, but the agenda of some corporate media, it is the agenda of regime change. How can the New York Times, I was reading it this morning, or how can Democracy Now!, which I was reading the other day, maintain until this day that this is a civil war in Syria? How can they maintain until this day that that the protests were unarmed and nonviolent until, say, 2012? That is absolutely not true. How can they maintain that the Syrian government is attacking civilians in Aleppo when every person that's coming out of these areas occupied by terrorists is saying the opposite? How do I quantify the support of the Syrian people? The elections. In 2014, the Syrian people held elections. The point being, overwhelmingly, the people support President Assad. There are people that want change in the government. We're not pretending they don't want change. Everybody wants change. But in terms of support of the government, the point is they don't see President Assad as the problem. They see the problem as terrorism. They see elements of problems in the system that they have there. But President Assad, they don't see as the problem. They actually overwhelmingly support him. So I'm basing it on their choice in their leader, and I'm basing it on my interactions with people in Syria.
All right. It is, what, April 12th, 2018. I'm Eric. So, it looks like they're going to start what one would call a conventional war. What that means, tanks, missiles, mortars, and so on. Turkey, Jordan, they are supposedly going to be attacking from their side. Anyone who says that this isn't a world war, I think you're wrong, because of the number of countries that are involved. We have the United States, the EU in its entirety, Canada, Russia, China, so on, so forth. Well, that's pretty bad. I mean, no, it's not nukes flying, not yet. But it could happen. I said last night I doubted either party had the balls to actually deliver a nuclear payload, but you never know. I mean, one side could just be flat out sick of all the bullshit and say, you know what, fuck it. Let's do this. And that'd be it. So, Israel has already launched a so-called counter-attack, whatever that means. And I mean, Israel had no reason whatsoever to even intervene in Syria or any other country except for those who were invited. Russia, Iran. They're invited to help the Syrian military get rid of the vermin our country, along with EU countries, have created, these fucking Frankensteins. It's not just one. I mean, at first it was the Taliban back in the 80s, and then it was Al-Qaeda in the 90s, and then it was ISIS now, and these are all creations of our Central Intelligence Agency, along with the military, you name it. All these alphabet soup agencies have their hands in this. But for some reason, unknown to me, you, or many, I say you, like the person, people who are looking at this video are responsible. In a way we are, but the people of this country, you keep voting for the same kind of creeps, like Donald Trump, like Obama, like the Bushes, Clinton, and you keep getting the same result each time. Each time. Now, this seems to me a little redundant, don't you think? To keep doing the same thing. I mean, is our memories that bad that we can't remember from one president to the next what happened? I mean, do we not remember that little Kuwaiti princess there talking about how the Iraqi troops were throwing babies out of their incubators? I mean, come on, give me a fucking break. But you're gonna keep believing the bullshit. There, stateside, everywhere. And I just want to know why. Why is it that hard to see what's obvious? At least I've seen it in a documentary, I think it's Four Horsemen. The guy talks about how if you were to have a discussion with a fish, and you were talking about their environment, the last thing they would mention is the water surrounding them. And the same holds true with us and what's surrounding us. And what's surrounding us is a bunch of criminals. I mean, that people have the nerve to consider me a criminal when I don't hurt anybody. The only time I exercise violence is when somebody attacks me. But I'm the criminal. But we're surrounded by them. Every last one of these people on this stage right here, they're all criminals. Donald Trump. Every one of them. They're criminals of the worst kind. I say that because they hide behind the veneer of legitimacy, which there is no legitimacy in none of these governments. There is no legitimacy in any of these governments because each of them, including our own, commits acts of aggression and theft and extortion against its population. How can that be considered legitimate? I mean, if you're really thinking about it, how can you consider it legitimate? I'm asking you. I mean, our government has it in their mind that not only should they suppress and abuse and destroy our own country and our own citizens, but they got to go around the world and do the same thing to every other country. You don't think that we're not suppressed and abused? You got fucking Stockholm Syndrome. Badly. I mean, just the other day, a man was gunned down in a fucking homeless shelter for wanting to die. He wanted to kill himself. You know what the cop said? And you know, and I hate to say this to a point. If somebody wants to die, you should let them. But the cop said we should give him his wish, and they killed him. He was no threat to no one at all. Then you had the woman I did a video about, or I touched on it. She gets gunned down for having a knife in her hand when she and the, I think it was 5 responding officers, were on the other side of a chain link fence several feet from the officers or anyone else. She got gunned down. And think about how many people are sitting in federal prison, like Wesley Snipes. And he's probably not sitting in federal prison anymore, but he was because he didn't pay his taxes. They used force to make him in compliance. That's what it all boils down to. Compliance. If you comply, you're rewarded, like good little puppies. But if you don't comply, if you talk like I do, you're punished. You're unpatriotic. You're outcast, ostracized. Yeah, criminals. Makes me wonder why bother to be or try to be a hard-working person when you have people in this country, in this world, that get by in life by stealing the labors of other people. I mean, if you work and you pay taxes, you're actually contributing to your own prison. You're paying the fucking guards. You're voting for the wardens. I mean, it seems to me very, very absurd. Uh-oh. That got a song stuck in my head. Moving back instead of forward seems to be absurd. Or seems to me. Something like that. I think it's in Eye of the Beholder, Metallica. Really great song. You should check it out if you've never heard it. Eye of the Beholder. Really is Veritas. That whole record is really Veritas. I mean, it predicts everything that we see now. Every single thing. It was just starting to happen then, but it's gotten to the extreme that they describe it in their album Injustice for All. I'm serious. Music has a way of predicting things. Pretty ironic, really. So, we have Jordan, Turkey, Israel, Saudi Arabia, United States, EU. About to launch a ground offensive against military targets in Syria where Russians are stationed. And Vladimir Putin has already said, if one of my men, one Russian soldier is killed, hurt, we're retaliating. How far are these retaliations going to go? Are they going to be tit for tat, or somebody who has an agenda, depopulation of the planet type of agenda? Is somebody with such an agenda going to push to the extreme and start unleashing shit like a Reaper virus? I mean, you know these people are working on ways to kill everyone. And I think they've attempted many times, like I said, but each time, for some reason, these diseases stop spreading and die down. They're not strong enough. I think it's attempted every day in our chemtrails. Well, they put something new in there to see what happens. Well, let's see how this chemical affects the population of state X, Y, or Z. And spraying that shit all over us, and like we're little roaches. I guess to them that's what we are, really. Right? I mean, if they can justify spraying us with poisons, then what else are we to them? No. I've read a dozen articles over the course of the last day. And a lot of people think that Donald Trump got compromised, and he has surrounded himself with his enemies. This is not the case. Remember, it's all theater. It's all acting. He acted like he despised the deep state. He pretended like he despised Hillary Clinton. And this whole investigation, like I told you, they knew. They had no proof that Donald Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin or anybody else, which is why they pushed that one. And this thing with the porn star, so fucking what? So what? He banged that whore. Happens every day. I mean, she's a badass looking broad. $100,000 though. Oh no, I think I could have got a little better deal than $100,000. I mean, you can rent those girls for like $10,000 for the whole night. So that's not going to get them. And the people Trump has decided to surround himself with, they're all people who want war. They're all the people who wanted to topple, what was it, 7 governments in 5 years? Something like that. I think they only have 2 left. Syria and Iran. All the others on the list have fallen. And then what? Well, you know what? They haven't got Russia either. Of course, that they weren't on the list at that time. They probably are now. And I seriously doubt the Russians will allow regime change in their country. I mean, Vladimir Putin, he got mad support from his people. Even though they're tyrannical themselves there in Russia. But in a previous video, I showed how our gun laws are very, very similar to theirs. We don't really have gun rights. Again, if it can be taken, it's not yours. Morning coffee. Could use something a little stronger though. Stimulant that, you know, really gets me going. Not meth or nothing like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But it would be nice, not to feel like I'm fucking old. Know what I mean? I've tried a lot of shit too. I ordered this product from InfoWars called Alpha Power. Let me tell you, man. Take a couple of them capsules. You you are a bit more aggressive and pushy than you normally would be. I know I was. I mean, I still take them because I often find myself in situations where I have to be a big fucking asshole. And, well, it shit really helps you be a big fucking asshole, let me tell you. I meant to use it to boost my energy and my testosterone levels. And if you're, I think it's 30, every year after 30, you start losing 1% of your testosterone. And the more time you spend around children, that also contributes to testosterone loss. So when I take those, I have to be really careful not to be barbaric. Seriously. A lot of his of those products they make, a lot of them work pretty well. So, anyway, I digress. I don't know how I got off. Oh yeah, feeling old. Stimulant. Big pile of Tony Montana cocaine might do it, huh? Drop your head down there and could just imagine. Anyway. So, I mean, look. I mean, remember this guy? Colin Powell? He swore to fucking God that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. There he is, with this little object in his hand, pretending that's one of these little weapons of mass. This missile is going to hit us. Come on, man. You fell for it then. I mean, fool you once, shame on me. Fool you twice, shame on you. And man, all you motherfuckers have been fooled time and time again. Look at this crazy cunt. Same thing about Libya. Time and time again. And now we have crazy ass Nikki Haley saying the same shit. And it's not just Syria, Libya, or Iraq they've lied about. They've lied about Vietnam. They've lied about every single kinetic action ever taken in modern time. Whatever that means. But somehow a lot of you people out there think they're legitimate. They're our rulers and we must obey them. For what? What is the reward for our loyalty and obedience? Oh, that's right. They take 30% of your paycheck. They tax you to death on other shit. And if you dare dabble in the black market, you might end up behind a fucking prison with big old Bubba wanting to rape you. Although I must say, the guys in county jail said that shit to a large degree has stopped because there's just so many faggots in jail that there's just no need to rape other men in there because there's faggots in there willing to be faggots, I guess. I know. That's not the politically correct thing to say, but I'm not really too much into political correctness, so faggot is to me, the proper term. Not homosexual. But, yeah, I mean, I would be being in bars if I were to try to behave like a cop or one of these politicians. I'd be sitting in a fucking Afghani prison or Gitmo or Abu Ghraib or however you say that fucking name. Or some other clandestine black site that our country loves to use so much on innocent goat herders. Yeah, that's what a lot of them people are that they capture. Goat herders. And then they torture them and torture them and torture them until they get some sort of contrived confession out of them. And actually, now you know why I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do my videos, because as soon as somebody else wakes up, bam. Anyway. Thought I'd chat with you all this morning. Not, like I said, I'm trying to get away from the article videos. I'm going to share one more clip with you all, if I see it again here. Hold, yeah, it's not too long.
Господин посол, спасибо, что пришли к нам.
Russia's ambassador to the European Union has been talking to the Euronews Bureau in Brussels. Our correspondent started by putting it to him that the whole world, with the exception of Russia, has been shocked by the images in the aftermath of a purported chemical attack in Syria on Saturday. Russia, let me correct you, is also shocked by yet another provocation of this so-called chemical attack in Duma, eastern Ghouta, near Damascus. Russian military specialists have visited the region, walked on those streets, entered those houses, talked to local doctors, and visited the only functioning hospital in Duma, including its basement, where reportedly the mountains of corpses pile up. There wasn't a single corpse, and not a single person who came in for treatment after the attack.
Ни одного обратившегося даже за медицинской помощью человека там нет. Так что никакой...
But we've seen them on the video. There was no chemical attack in Duma, pure and simple. And what did we see? We've seen another staged event. There are personnel specifically trained, and you can guess by who, amongst the so-called white helmets, who were already caught in the act with staged videos. Nevertheless, we're heading towards a powerful US strike against Syrian targets in response to such an atrocity. In response to something that didn't happen. Still, is Russia prepared for an event like a strike that could eventually lead to Russians being hurt or even killed? Russia has warned US representatives, publicly as well as through the proper channels, over the grave consequences that could arise if these strikes happen, and whether, deliberately or otherwise, Russian citizens are hurt.
В ходе этих ударов, вольно или невольно, пострадают российские граждане.
You see, it's all lie. It's all theater. It's all bullshit. When a politician lies to you, it's politics. When you lie to a politician, it's a crime. Remember, people, kill the state before the state kills you.